Your palms are sweating, your heart is racing,
Mm.
and you haven't even opened the front glass door yet.
Oh, yeah, the classic first day panic. We all know it.
Right. Starting a brand new job is just universally panic-inducing for pretty much everyone. But, I mean, layer this on top of it. You are navigating this totally unfamiliar corporate environment in a second language.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that completely changes the game.
It really does, because you aren't just worried about learning the new software or, understanding your boss's expectations. You are suddenly terrified you might freeze up and completely forget how to politely say hello to the receptionist.
And that is the ultimate recipe for a complete working memory crash.
The memory crash.
Yeah, because your brain only has so much processing power. When you walk into a new building, you're actively analyzing the physical space, mapping out the social dynamics, and, trying to project confidence.
Right, trying to look like you belong there.
Exactly. So if you force your brain to simultaneously run high-speed translation software in the background just to figure out how to greet someone, you max out your cognitive load.
You just hit a wall.
You do. And that processing delay leads to awkward pauses, which spikes your anxiety, which then, of course, further degrades your ability to recall vocabulary.
Okay, let's unpack this, because hacking that cognitive load is exactly what our deep dive is about today.
I love that framing, hacking the load.
Yeah. We have this highly specialized guide. It's essentially a conversational cheat sheet that breaks down 10 essential office English phrases. And the mission here isn't just about learning English vocabulary.
Well, it's way deeper than that.
It is about equipping you with the exact automated responses you need to optimize your interactions and just reduce friction on day one. We're really looking at the underlying strategy of using a rigid, preloaded script.
And bypassing decision fatigue is the core mechanism at work here. I mean, when a new colleague approaches you and speaks, translating their words and forming a response in your head, it requires evaluating multiple options in real time.
Yeah, you're doing mental gymnastics.
Exactly. You wonder if your phrasing is too formal or maybe too casual, or if it's grammatically correct. And while that internal debate is happening, the silence just stretches out.
And silence feels so loud in those moments.
It really does. In English conversational norms, a delay of even 1 second can signal hesitation or confusion. But having a preloaded script removes the decision-making process entirely.
You just hit play.
You don't evaluate, you just deploy the phrase. That saves your mental bandwidth for the actual job you were hired to perform.
That initial buffer of automating your responses, it becomes critical immediately. Because every new job, no matter the industry, starts at the exact same physical bottleneck. The front desk. You push the door open, the receptionist looks up from their monitor, and you are expected to speak. And it is incredibly easy to get stuck scrolling through a mental list of options, like, do I say hi or hello or hey there or greetings?
And by the time you land on one, you've lost the natural conversational rhythm. It's gone.
So true. But the guide provides your very first piece of social armor to prevent this. You walk in and simply say, good morning, everyone.
Yes, just that.
I have to question that, though. Like, if it's my very first day, my instinct is to be as respectful and professional as possible. Why wouldn't I use a title? Why not say, good morning, sir, or good morning, ma'am?
Well, what's fascinating here is the underlying psychology of modern English-speaking office culture. It heavily favors a flatter hierarchy.
Flatter meaning less formal.
Right. Using sir or ma'am in this specific context actually works against you. It creates this rigid formal distance right from the start, which can make you seem inaccessible or overly traditional.
Oh, I see.
But then on the other end of the spectrum, saying, hey, is far too casual. It signals that you lack professional boundaries. So, good morning, everyone, strikes the exact middle ground of being warm but still professional.
It functions almost like a skeleton key, right? It just unlocks any room, regardless of what's inside.
That's a great way to put it.
Because if there's one person sitting at the desk, it's perfectly polite. If there happens to be a group of 5 people standing in the lobby waiting for the elevator, it scales automatically to include all of them. You don't need to scan the room, count the people, and adjust your greeting. You just deploy the key.
And that versatility is exactly why it's recommended. It covers you completely. But, the receptionist is immediately going to ask how they can help you, which obviously requires a response.
Right.
The guide introduces the second essential phrase here, and it is an exercise in extreme brevity. You simply tell them, I'm new here.
3 words. I'm new here. And honestly, that feels almost impossible to do.
Why is that?
Because the natural human urge, when we are nervous, is to over-explain our presence. The instinct is to launch into this huge monologue like, "Hi, I am a new employee starting today in the marketing department, and I am supposed to be reporting to Janet on the third floor for orientation."
Oh, absolutely. But over-explaining fundamentally misunderstands the receptionist's role in that moment.
How so?
Well, think about it. They are managing phones, emails, building security. If you deliver your full name, title, and department, you basically force them to process an unprompted data dump.
Yeah, they're probably just trying to figure out if you're the delivery guy.
Exactly. When you simply say, "I'm new here," you bypass all that friction. It functions as a specific operational trigger.
Oh, it signals them to launch the standard operating procedure.
Precisely. Every corporate office has a standard onboarding protocol. When they hear, "I'm new here," they don't need to memorize your resume. They just know to activate the new hire flowchart.
They print the temporary badge, hand you the tax paperwork.
Yeah, and they call the hiring manager to come get you. The phrase just does the heavy lifting for you.
You let the system do the work. So the receptionist makes the call, and a few minutes later, your manager or an HR rep comes down to the lobby. They walk up, smile, and according to the guide, they will almost certainly greet you by saying, "Welcome to the office."
And welcome to the office is a crucial marker in the day. It's really important to recognize that this is not a phrase you initiate, it's a phrase you receive.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
Yeah, when a manager says this, it's a polite, formal acknowledgement that the logistical hurdle of getting you into the building is complete.
So the goal is to not overthink the response. Like, I shouldn't launch into a speech about how honored I am to join their prestigious organization.
Definitely not. Keeping it contained is vital here. Your only obligation is to acknowledge the hospitality. You smile and say, "Thanks."
Just thanks.
Just thanks. That single word satisfies the social contract, and you have officially navigated the arrival.
Wow. Okay, but that initial buffer of being the arrival only lasts for those few minutes in the lobby.
Yay, the honeymoon is short.
Very short. Once your guide swipes their badge and walks you onto the actual floor, the social dynamics shift dramatically. You're no longer dealing with reception. You are navigating authority and peers.
Yeah, you're stepping onto the stage.
Exactly. You are being marched past rows of open-plan desks, or cubicles, which triggers a highly sensitive part of the morning, the gauntlet of introductions.
And this environment presents a really significant trap for anyone who feels the need to justify their presence to strangers.
Because you pass 10 different desks, people are glancing up from their screens, and the psychological urge is to stop at every single one and introduce yourself fully.
Oh, for sure.
To be like, "Hello, my name's Maria, and I am joining the marketing team today as the new junior copywriter."
Well, the guide makes a really sharp cultural distinction here, because in many business cultures globally, taking the initiative to formally announce your title to everyone you pass is an absolute requirement to show respect.
Right, it's expected.
But in an English-speaking office environment, the protocol is inverted. In this specific scenario, you do not introduce yourself. You respond to being introduced.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Your manager is the one driving the interaction, right? They hold the conversational steering wheel.
Exactly.
They will look at a coworker and say, "This is Maria, she's joining the marketing team."
Because your manager is facilitating the tour. Trying to take over the introduction disrupts the hierarchy and the pacing. The people you are passing are actively working. They want to acknowledge you warmly, but they're not prepared for full networking conversation.
Right, it's an over-delivery of data. It's like handing someone a 10-page menu when they just politely asked if you want water.
That is a perfect analogy.
The brain just rejects it.
Mm-hmm.
You simply need to use the next phrase in our guide, which is, "Nice to meet you." 3 words. Make brief eye contact, smile, and keep walking.
It respects the rhythm of the open plan office. "Nice to meet you" demonstrates that you're friendly and polite, but it also shows that you possess the social awareness to not stall the momentum of the tour your manager is giving you.
And while we're looking at the dynamics of this tour, there's another critical phrase you're going to hear from your guide. At some point, they'll likely gesture to the floor and say, "I'll show you around."
Oh, yes. This is a big one.
And a lot of highly independent professionals have an immediate knee-jerk reaction to this. The instinct is to say, "Oh, no, thank you. I don't want to be a burden. I can figure the layout out myself."
Declining that offer is a significant strategic error.
Really?
Yes. When a manager or colleague says, "I'll show you around," the only acceptable response is, "Thanks, that'd be great." You must always accept the tour.
Beyond just being polite, though, what is the functional risk of turning it down?
Well, by attempting to save them 5 minutes of their time, You are all but guaranteeing a disruption later in the day.
Ah, I see.
The tour is where you gather the foundational geographical data of your new environment. If you skip it, 3 hours later you will not know where the restrooms are, how to find the break room, or, which unlabeled glass door leads to your 2 p.m. meeting.
You're going to be totally lost.
And you'll end up having to interrupt people with basic survival questions, which is far more annoying than simply taking the guided tour in the morning.
Right. And you're also demonstrating that you're coachable. You're letting them guide you. So you take the tour, you survive the introductions, and you finally arrive at your actual desk. Your manager helps you get situated.
Finally.
Yeah, but they clearly have a busy schedule. So before they walk away, they drop what the sources highlight as one of the most heavily coded sentences in corporate English. Let me know if you need anything.
Oh, this brings us to a fascinating subset of workplace linguistics. It's often referred to as manager speak.
Manager speak.
Yeah. To a non-native speaker, let me know if you need anything. Sounds like a polite throwaway pleasantry. It sounds like something you say just to end a conversation gracefully with no actual meaning behind it.
I always wonder about the sincerity of this. Is it just conversational filler? Like when a cashier asks, "How's your day going?"
Yeah.
They don't actually want a detailed breakdown of your bad commute. So does a manager genuinely want a new employee bothering them on the first day?
They absolutely do. And understanding the pragmatic translation of this phrase is essential. Anglo-American corporate culture relies heavily on politeness theory.
Meaning what?
Meaning managers often mask direct instructions as gentle suggestions to maintain a harmonious atmosphere. When a manager says, "let me know," the literal translation in a corporate context is, "tell me."
Oh, wow.
And when they say, "if you need anything," the translation is, "if there is a problem."
So they are actively ordering you to report roadblocks.
Yes. They are giving you explicit, preemptive permission to interrupt them. A manager's worst nightmare is a new hire who encounters a login error at 10 a.m. and sits in silence until 4 p.m. because they were too polite to ask for help.
Wow, okay. So if you respond to that offer by saying, "Oh, thanks, but I can manage, I won't bother you," you probably think you're being a low-maintenance employee. But you're actually telling your boss that you plan to hide your problems from them.
Exactly. You are rejecting their management structure. The optimized response is confident and agreeable. You simply say, "thanks, I will."
Thanks, I will.
It is a verbal contract. It reassures your manager that you will wave a flag the moment you get stuck, which allows them to walk away and focus on their own work without worrying about you just spinning your wheels.
Thanks, I will. It honors their authority while keeping the interaction brief. Now, shortly after your manager leaves, you are sitting at your desk setting up your computer. A friendly coworker walks by, maybe holding a coffee mug, and they pause to check on you. They ask, "How's your first day going?"
And this is another moment where brevity is required. The honest answer might be that your software keeps crashing, and you are highly stressed.
But this coworker is merely establishing baseline rapport, not conducting a deep dive interview.
Exactly.
It's not the time to deliver a 5-minute status report on your parking spot and your IT issues. You save the complex narratives for week 2 when you've actually built a relationship with these people.
Right. The required phrase here is short and positive. Good, thanks.
Just keep it upbeat.
Yeah. Although, if you want to demonstrate a bit of self-awareness and vulnerability to build that early rapport, the guide suggests saying, "a little overwhelming, but good."
Oh, I like that.
It acknowledges the reality of a first day while maintaining a positive trajectory that doesn't demand emotional labor from the person asking.
But, that initial morning honeymoon period where everyone is just checking in and smiling, it eventually wears off. By the afternoon, the reality of doing the actual job sets in. It is a universal law of first days you will eventually hit a wall.
Oh, without fail. A logistical failure is inevitable. The printer requires a security code you don't have, the proprietary software freezes, or you realize the onboarding packet doesn't include the guest Wi-Fi password.
Now you have a tangible problem. And the only way to solve it is to walk over and interrupt a coworker who is actively engaged in their own work.
Yeah, that's tough.
This is the exact scenario that spikes anxiety. How do you solicit help without immediately branding yourself as the annoying new person who disrupts the workflow?
Well, interrupting someone requires managing their expectations immediately. You have to mitigate the social imposition. And the guide provides a conversational tool specifically designed to de-escalate the interruption before you even ask the question.
What is it?
You approach their desk and lead with, "Sorry, quick question."
That phrase acts like a verbal pressure release valve. Because when you walk up to someone typing intensely and say, "Sorry, quick question," You can visibly watch their posture relax.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it addresses the concept of negative face.
Negative face.
Yeah, it's the human desire not to be imposed upon. By leading with an apology for the interruption and immediately promising brevity, you are putting a boundary around the interaction.
Like putting a literal 5-minute timer on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The coworker's brain registers that you are not about to drag them into a 30-minute training session. You're signaling that they can help you and get right back to their flow state.
It perfectly calibrates the interaction. Sorry, quick question. Where do we keep the printer paper? Quick question. Is there a team meeting I should attend it to? It is highly polite, acknowledges the disruption, and gets straight to the point without any awkward preamble.
And once they answer your quick question or, help you reset your password, the interaction shifts to expressing gratitude. This is where non-native speakers often default to the most formal option available to them.
I actually look at this step and wonder about the balance of grammar and politeness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if a coworker just abandoned their spreadsheet to fix my Wi-Fi, why wouldn't I say thank you very much? Isn't that the most grammatically flawless, universally accepted way to show respect?
Grammatical perfection and social warmth are not always the same thing in an office environment. Thank you very much is absolutely correct, but it carries a very stiff, formal tone.
Really?
Yeah. It sounds like dialogue lifted directly from a language textbook rather than organic human interaction. It subtly reinforces the distance between you and your new colleague.
Then obviously we want to close that distance, not reinforce it. So what phrase actually bridges that gap?
The warm, native-sounding alternative that the guide emphasizes is, "Thanks so much, I really appreciate it."
Thanks so much, I really appreciate it. It does have a much more natural cadence to it.
It sounds conversational and genuine. And the guide also explicitly flags the pronunciation of the word appreciate, which frequently trips up speakers who rely on spelling rather than phonetics.
Oh, how so?
It is not 3 syllables, it's 4. The correct pronunciation is a P or E she-ate.
A P-E she. Oh, I hear it. That extra syllable gives the phrase its natural rhythm. Thanks so much, I really appreciate it.
Mastering that specific phonetic delivery conveys sincere gratitude without making you sound robotic or overly differential.
Awesome. So you successfully navigate the IT issues, you build rapport with your coworkers, and eventually the clock hits 5 p.m. You've survived the bulk of the day.
You made it.
You are packing your bag, your team is powering down their monitors, and you are all walking toward the exit. Now, the source material is remarkably strict about the phrasing you use as you walk out the door. It strongly advises against saying goodbye.
Yes, because the word goodbye carries a heavy inherent finality in modern English.
Right.
In the context of leaving the office on a standard Tuesday, using goodbye sounds overly dramatic. It subconsciously implies a permanent departure, as if you are quitting on your first day and never returning.
It is way too heavy for the end of a normal shift.
The optimized end-of-day strategy is to pivot from finality to continuity. The correct phrase is simply, "See you tomorrow."
See you tomorrow. It is casual, but more importantly, it sends a powerful psychological signal to both your team and yourself.
Absolutely.
It verbally confirms that you survived the onboarding, you recognize your place in the group, and you fully intend to return and do it again.
It establishes you as part of the ongoing routine. You transition from being the arriving stranger to an expected presence in the office ecosystem.
Okay, so we've mapped out the entire trajectory of the day, from the front desk to the exit. But recognizing these phrases conceptually is very different from recalling them under stress.
Oh, totally.
How do we move from understanding the script to actually deploying it when the pressure spikes on Monday morning?
Well, the source material addresses this by providing a highly specific retention strategy. The primary warning is to avoid trying to memorize all 10 phrases simultaneously, which will only induce the exact cognitive overload we are trying to prevent.
Right, don't cram.
Exactly. The strategy is to select just 3 phrases from the list right now.
Only 3.
Just 3, and you must say them out loud 3 times each. That equates to 9 verbal repetitions, which takes less than 60 seconds to complete.
Why is the verbalization so critical, though? Why can't I just review the list in my head or write them down on a notepad?
Because reading is a function of declarative memory, whereas speaking is a physical motor skill involving procedural memory. When you articulate the phrases out loud, you are physically training the muscles in your jaw, tongue, and vocal cords to form those specific phonetic sequences.
Ah, muscle memory.
You are building muscle memory. When you're standing in the lobby and your conscious recall freezes due to anxiety, that physical muscle memory will take over and execute the phrase automatically.
You train the mouth to operate even when the brain stalls out. That's brilliant. For anyone listening who wants to drill these phrases and test that muscle memory, the source material highlighted a few accessible resources to take this further. You can visit Phrasy.xyz, that is spelled Phrasy.xyz.
Yeah, that's a great tool.
They host a completely free 5-minute quiz featuring 20 common office phrases, and it doesn't even require an account sign-up.
And for a deeper dive into workplace linguistics, they also offer a comprehensive PDF containing 60 office phrases tailored for various professional scenarios.
Oh, perfect. Where is that?
That resource is available at phrasy.gumroad.com. Interestingly, it operates on a pay-what-you-want model, meaning you can access the full document for $0 if you are just looking to secure the reference material.
That's super accessible. So what does this all mean? When you look at the architecture of these 10 phrases, from the scalable utility of good morning, everyone, to the continuity of see you tomorrow, it becomes clear that we aren't just memorizing vocabulary. We are building a system.
A social operating system, really.
Right. These phrases are carefully engineered conversational tools that absorb the friction of a new environment, signal your competence to your colleagues, and preserve your cognitive energy for the actual work.
It is a highly effective survival mechanism designed specifically for the vulnerability of day one. By being agreeable, polite, and easy to manage, you safely embed yourself into the team.
These 10 phrases get you safely through the door, but it leaves you with an interesting problem to consider. As you settle into your new role, the new person armor inevitably expires.
Exactly. This guide gives you the perfect script to be agreeable, but by day 100, that script becomes obsolete.
Oh, for sure.
Once you've successfully integrated into the team, your language must evolve.
Yep.
You can no longer just say, thanks, I will, to every request. You will eventually have to push back on a flawed project timeline, respectfully disagree with a senior colleague, or take assertive control of a disorganized meeting.
Right.
The language of integration will eventually have to become the language of influence.
You trade the armor of the new hire for the tools of a leader. That is a completely different linguistic challenge. So as you stand outside that glass building on Monday morning, focus on the immediate hurdle. You don't have to invent the perfect greeting or analyze the power dynamics of the lobby. The script is already written for you. Just push open the door, smile, and trust the process.